Hello and welcome to Yodan. Today we won't be doing any cooking. Instead I'll be talking for 10 minutes. So if I send you to sleep, I do apologize in advance. And I'm going to talk to you about compassion. Serious topic, compassion. So the title of this video, you do not need to be compassionate. You do not have to be compassionate. Don't try and be compassionate. Don't try and be forgiving. Don't try to be kind. And it sounds like I'm a horrible person now, because hopefully you will have been raised with this idea of trying to be a decent person, to try and be kind and forgiving and compassionate towards your fellow human beings. If you were brought up in a religious context, as a Christian kid or a Catholic kid, but the interesting thing is that belonging to one of these religious communities would not necessarily imply that you were exposed to those teachings. But in theory, at the very least, if you ever went to church, hopefully the priest at some point, besides telling you to stone gay people and other lovely things, they will have told you to try and be a decent person. They will have spoken about forgiveness and all these lofty ideals. And the same goes, I believe, for other religions. Certainly, I know with Buddhism and other Eastern philosophies. And nowadays, in our so-called secular society that is increasingly less religious, I think we've still extracted, or rather inherited, these ideas with regard to the West. We've inherited them from our Christian past, and so we still have embedded in our culture this idea that we ought to be kind beings or forgiving beings. Of course, we don't put it into practice, but in theory, we have that teaching embedded or inculcated into our brain. And here's the thing: it doesn't work. If you've tried to be compassionate and kind, especially forgiving, you might have found that it will leave you very frustrating, because you will realize actually you're a horrible human being, especially when it comes to forgiveness, which is a very hard thing to do. If you're trying to forgive a person who's done something horrible to you, or at least you think that they've done something horrible to you, you will have realized just how hard it is to forgive. A byproduct of that is that, in turn, you get guilt. Because then you've got a narrative in your mind telling you, God, you're a horrible person, you're unkind, you're not compassionate, you're unforgiving. And in the meantime, you've got society telling you that you should try and be all those things. The root of the problem here lies in the idea of trying. Okay? Try to be compassionate. Just try. Try. Why wouldn't you try? And if you look at nature, and when I say nature, I mean nature other than humans. It's funny because we are part of nature, but we've, of course, constructed it in our head that we're not part of nature. There's nature and then there's us, as if we were above the natural world, which of course is a delusion, but that's a topic for a different talk. So if you look at nature, the animal world, the world of plants, you'll see that there's not a thing that tries to be something that they're not. You don't look at a rose that tries to be a rose, or a daisy that tries to be a daisy. Even more saliently, you don't ever see a rose that tries to be a lily, or an apple tree that tries to be a pear tree. And that's because things in nature have a way of working that is automatic, for want of a better word. Things just flow, they just happen without any strife, without any struggle, without any trying. And that's the opposite of what we're taught. We are taught growing up that if we're not trying hard enough, then we're not good children, we're not good people. And so we're told to try and study harder. And I love this word hard. Work hard. I'm a hard-working man. That was my American accent. I'm a hard-working student. I study hard, I work hard, and we sort of feel that society's got to give us something, acknowledgement at the very least, or even validation, because we try hard. And that's a horrible word, trying hard. Because you'll see nothing. I mean, so much gets done in nature, so much gets accomplished without any struggle. And that's where we've deviated from the natural path. Whereas things in nature just are, we're not. We try to be. We try to become, we try to possess, we try to achieve, we try to accomplish, but we just never are what we are. And I'm not saying that you are not compassionate, forgiving, or kind by your own very nature. You, in fact, are those things. Your very nature is to be kind and compassionate and forgiving. But guess what? You don't know that. We don't know that. We think we know, but we have no idea that at our very core, our very nature is to be kind, compassionate, and forgiving beings, because we've lost touch with that nature. And we've lost touch with that place within ourselves where those things emerge, the place from where they come out. And unless we can find that place again, unless we can get back in touch with that place, there is no point in trying to be forgiving and compassionate and kind. You can try, but you will only find frustration. And you'll feel like a phony ultimately, okay? Because it'll feel like you're acting a part that is not you. And it goes to add to this cumulative mound of mental suffering, of psychological suffering, this pressure of trying to be what we're not, trying to show society something that we're not. And so, before you try and forgive, before you try and be compassionate, before you try and be kind, drop all of that, drop the act. Don't try and be anything other than what you are, and then try to feel anything other than what you're feeling right now. If that's anger, be angry. If that's resentment, feel that resentment. If that is contempt, complaint, unhappiness, bitterness, then feel those things and accept them as they are. Because unless you do, you won't be able to feel compassion, forgiveness, kindness, and all those lovely things that in theory you're supposed to be. My tea has gone cold. Ugh. And here comes the idea of mindfulness and meditation. Every time it feels like I'm trying to sell like a course, which I'm not. I should, tell you what, could make some money. But so the smell of the countryside. So, so-called good sentiments, good feelings must come from within. They cannot come from a place in your mind that's telling you that you should behave in such and such way. If someone's done something to you that you cannot forgive, you may try and just find that you can't, and you'll feel bad about yourself and you won't be able to forgive that person. So find a place within, in your meditation practice, in your mindful practice, call it what you will, it doesn't matter. Okay, you don't need to be a Buddhist monk to do any of these things. That's the point, that's the beauty of it. Find a place within and acknowledge what you're feeling, whether it's anger or other negative feelings, and bring acceptance into it. And with acceptance of what is, it comes a whole new dimension. And you might find, I'm not going to tell you that because you don't have to take my word for it, but you might find, when and if you find that place within, that compassion is already there. Forgiveness is already there. Kindness is already there. You do not need to produce these things. They are you in your essence. And I think that's all I want to say about this topic. I'll conclude with a citation, so to speak. There's a very good talk out there by Alan Watts, and I can't for the life of me remember the title. But he says, more or less, he reflects on this idea of trying, this culture of telling people to try and do things that, by their very nature, they're not things that come out of trying. They are things that flow naturally. So our culture has given birth to paradoxical statements such as try to sleep, try not to worry, try and be calm, try and love your partner a bit more, try and be more loving, try to be a more compassionate person. And that's the absurdity of it, that these are not things that you can try to do. These are things that happen naturally in you. And so think about that next time you try to be compassionate. And I'm not advocating punching that guy who is obnoxious and is making an awful noise while eating his, I don't know, quinoa salad. Do you make noise when you eat quinoa salad? Maybe more like a burger. So don't punch them just yet. Feel the annoyance within, okay? And then become still. Become still. Breathe. Find an anchor. I say find an anchor. I think it's a very good metaphor. I must not be the only person to use that, probably. Probably I'm not. Whether it's your surroundings, the sounds around you, your breath, find something that makes you still within. And by still, I mean that your thoughts slow down. You're not thinking as much. You're not absorbed by your mind. Find that and see what you find. Find that and see what you find. Doesn't sound catchy, but it works. Thank you for watching. If you liked it and you want to watch more videos like that, consider subscribing to the channel. And I will see you next time. Cheerio!